the reason why I'm doing these is just because like I do a lot of coaching, obviously, and I still play. And at the minute, it's pretty hard for the kids I coach, and I guess for parents and whatever. And it gives them something to listen to and something to sort of a routine. And I know the parents that I coach all listen to these and stuff like that. So it's pretty hard at the minute, especially here. I don't know how bad it is in Sweden, but here I probably won't go back to football till mid-March, maybe even later than that. And I haven't worked.
Later.
I hadn't even worked since November football wise because that's my full-time job. So it's been tough. So I'm trying to find any way to give people information when they do go back, give them advice. And obviously you had good experiences in football, and now you coach. I didn't realise you coach now as well. So that's a good thing.
Yeah. No, and it's been difficult for everyone. Luckily, last year I still our season still went ahead because I'm coaching a girls' youth team.
Okay.
The first team, they play in the top league, like the women's. They play in the Damallsvenskan, which is like the women's premiership. And then me and my friend who's English, we do the under 19. So I did that last year, and then before that I did Swindon in the community. You know, the foundation.
Yeah.
I did a few months there. I don't know if you remember John Holloway and Shane Hewlett.
I recognise Shane's name, but I don't recognise John.
Well, John's like the head of it, but they've got all new facilities, like where like the running track is by the county ground. They've got a new 4G pitch and new building, and so I got in there coaching. And then my mate rang me and said, "Do you want to come out here and like coach a team?" Which is what I wanted to do. But it literally come around like that.
Oh, wow.
I think I started coaching in September, doing like all the age groups in the foundation, doing PE in schools, doing after school clubs, and then by December I was ready to come out here for January. Then
it's a good thing as well. And
so,
you can't underestimate sometimes how important it is to go into schools and coach, because that's almost where you really learn, isn't it? When you go into schools and when you're trying to get people involved in some things that don't necessarily want to be involved in the sport. So it's good that you've done that, because I spent my time doing schools, and it's challenging.
Look, I'm not like experienced, but I've coached from like 8-year-olds now all the way up to like 18. Now I've coached girls, I've coached boys. So like the variety is there. But then it just happened, I got this chance to come here, and I thought, fuck it, why not?
No, so if we go back right to the start, I think the first time we met was at Swindon, wasn't it? And it was probably...
Yeah.
Were you there the first year, so under nines?
Yeah, I was straight in. Me, you, Louis Thompson, Jordan Turnbull.
Yeah.
That group, Kieran Tracy,
wow.
Jay Simpson, so... Yeah, that's a throwback.
That is a throwback. I see some pictures, and I'll put a picture on covering this podcast of us when we were young. To be honest, and obviously Nutty was the manager, and I spoke to Nutty a couple of months ago because he actually coaches down at Southampton now, and my nephew plays for Southampton under-10s down there, and he hasn't changed one bit, to be honest. But
he's still the same guy.
He's still the same guy, still absolutely nuts. But if we go back to then. You, from what I can remember, you were always tall. I've grown. I'm 6'4" now, so I'm a tall lad as well. But you were tall.
Yeah.
And how was the first couple of years of Swindon for you? Because I know at one point you started playing up here as well, didn't you?
Yeah. So I think I was one of the. Like I was there, one of the first ones, but you'd already started training.
Yeah.
And I'd actually been on trial at Reading.
Okay.
And then I was going through the process. I got through like 2 trials at Reading, and I was looking to sign there.
Yeah.
But then my parents were like, what turned out to be a divorce. They were like splitting up at the time. And obviously you're 9, you don't really fully understand, but they sort of explained, look, we can't, like mum and dad can't take you to the travelling, we've got things to sort out.
Yeah.
and then Jimmy Fraser rang me, and then I literally come in for a couple of sessions, and they said, right, we want to sign you. So obviously, like Swindon, local, it was a no-brainer. But yeah, like if I think back, I just think training. I remember turning up to train. You go up that little hill.
Yeah.
You come down. You see all the boys. The little pitches are there, and I just remember playing against your Swanseas, Oxfords, and it was more like I always knew I wanted to be a footballer, but like I can say that for when I was 6, because when I was 6, I was like football, 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 football.
Yeah.
I learned to walk by getting up and kicking a ball.
Yeah.
So my mum was like, well, he's going to play football. She didn't know it was going to be like obviously professional, but she was like, he's going to play some sort of football.
Yeah.
Yeah, those first couple of years, it was more about the enjoyment. And now I've done a bit of coaching. You want the kids you coach, or you want any age you coach, even if it's men. You want them to understand, like, you have to enjoy every moment, because as I found out, it is short lived.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. And those first couple of years for me was just like, well, I play for Swindon. I'm just gonna like enjoy it, and let's see where I go. But yeah, I think I was about 11. I think it was when we went to 11 aside. I got moved up an age group.
Yeah.
And then obviously you're playing with older players and stuff like that, and then that was a big test for me, and that's when it started to like sort of develop my game even more, if you like.
Yeah, exactly. That's when it starts to become a bit more serious, isn't it? Because you're not fully aware of what's going on at that sort of age, the younger age groups. And then as you're starting to learn more football and the coaches are a bit more stricter, and you start to learn what environment you're into. And so when did you realise, obviously, that you could make you thought you might make it, or you thought you might be half decent at this? What I guess it was a lot of hard work, wasn't it, to begin with? Because obviously we had a similar run in. I made it to under 16s before I got released. What clicked in you? What happened to you?
I don't know whether from when I was like early on, from when I was 11 and I started playing up for like that year. I don't know if I just like improved because I was with, like, I know it's only a year, but they're older players. Some of them were like maybe a bit bigger than me, because I was tall, but I was never wide. So I think it was just that, like, being with more physical players, like maybe the coach I had at the time, I don't know, but it just seemed to like be a step up, and I kind of went with it. I wouldn't say I thought I made it, but I remember Nutty calling me in, and I can't remember if he was head of the academy at the time or if he was just a general coach.
Yeah.
But he called me in, and I can't remember who else was there, but they said, oh, like, under 12s now, we want to give you a 4-year contract, if you like.
Yeah.
It wasn't obviously, I wasn't going to get paid, but it was like, we want you to sign here until you're 16. So in my mind, I was thinking, like, 4 years, like, I'm sorted until I'm 16. I can just be here and concentrate.
Yeah.
And try and improve here. So that was not when I thought I was going to make it, because you never know in football, but
exactly.
That's when I thought, well, if I can get to 16 and I can keep improving the way I have, then maybe I can go from 16 to then getting a scholarship at the club, a 2-year scholarship. So it was more about like sort of building it up, trying to improve like every year, and then it sort of worked out that way for me.
Sometimes you need a little bit of luck in the academy process, don't you? And obviously that confidence takes a blip in as well. Is there, obviously I felt there was bits where I was more confident than others. I remember I spoke to Mark Collier on the weekend, and I playing under him was my favourite year, which was under 12s, under 13s maybe. Was there any point where your confidence was either really, really high or low?
I don't know about low, because when I was 12, I knew, right, I'm going till I'm 16, and they sort of said, we're like 4 years, we want you here.
Yeah.
Like, no matter what. So I was thinking, well, like, I don't have to worry about anything unless I don't perform.
Yeah.
And then I'll get released. But for me, the year of under 16s, it was Ian Palmer and Dave Warren.
Okay, yeah.
Two great coaches, two great guys, and that year we had a really good group. And I remember we were sort of playing. We were getting the odd friendly against Everton away and stuff like that, and we were pushing these teams like all the way.
Yeah.
And playing against academies who had all this money, and we just had a really good team. That was the year I felt most confident.
Yeah. Which
is actually really good, because that's the year they decide whether you're going to get your 2-year scholarship. So, yeah, it was that year.
What happened for you? So obviously, and then what happened for you after you're 16? Where did you go then? I know the answer, but where did you sort of end up then?
So I remember like calling me in and saying, yeah, we want to give you a 2-year scholarship.
Yeah.
They said, we think you've played. I played up a year like all the time. Even when, I remember playing for, was it the under 18s when I was 14? I remember not playing regularly, but being on the bench. And then I remember coming on against Bournemouth at home, and Jayden Stockley was up front, and he ran past me and scored. And I was thinking, what's this about? But like, I was only 14, and some of them were sort of like 17.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd say that from sort of 14 to 16, they were like crucial years.
Yeah. It is a crucial year, and also what parents need to remember as well is that playing up a year isn't always necessarily going to work for your child, is it? I think with you it worked because you physically had it. Maybe you were a bit more. Your game understanding, your game knowledge was probably ahead of some of us in our team, but it doesn't always work as well, does it?
No, I mean, I just said yes because I thought, well, if they're asking me to go a year up, I'm obviously doing something okay or half okay. But yeah, I mean, there's loads of factors when you think about it. There's the physical side, the mental side. Can you actually perform at like playing a year up with older people physically? Are you strong enough? Are you quick enough?
Yeah.
Are you quicker in the head?
Yeah.
And then you've got the mental side, like of your attitude towards it, your commitment. And those ages, I'd say I was pretty committed. I'd hardly miss a session. I'd always want to go training.
Yeah.
If I got called up when I was 14, 15, 16 to go with the youth team, I was there. I remember I was 16 and I played a reserve game against Exeter at their stadium, and then I was getting days off school to go to Plymouth away.
Yeah.
So I was just taking every opportunity that like come my way, really. And it was all good experience.
That's a good thing. It's a good thing that you said it's a good experience, because even though mine ended in the way it did, with how it did, I'd still do it all again. And I think if you can have that attitude to it, I think that is a really, really good thing. So you did your 2-year scholarship. What happened for you after that?
So sort of 16 to 18 that was a bit more up and down, because that's when 16, especially 16, that was up. I was getting a call up to play for Wales, so I was buzzing. I remember playing for the Wales under 18s in like a friendly game when I was 16, and then I was going away with the under 19s as like one of the youngest there. I was still only 16. I was going to Bulgaria, Slovenia. I thought I'd done all right, but Paul Bowden just threw me straight in. I remember him doing an article before pre-season saying big prospect or something.
Yeah.
And it was saying about, I think it was about 6'5" at the time.
Yeah.
And it was saying, I'm a big centre back, blah blah blah. But that, I don't know what it was. That maybe like put a bit of pressure on me.
Yeah.
And I was reading this article, and it was a great article, but I was thinking, Jesus, like, he was saying stuff like he could be the next Sean Morrison, but he genuinely thought that. But I was coming up against maybe players who were a bit quicker than me. I'd had a growth spurt. Physically, I was strong. I've always been strong, but I'm not the quickest of players. I'm 6'7" now, so I don't know many quick 6'7" defenders.
No.
It's very hard, but yeah. So it was sort of up. It wasn't terrible, but it was like maybe 2 good games, 1 bad game, 4 good games, 2 bad games. It was just up and down throughout the youth team. But I don't know what happened. I must have done something for them to obviously consider me for getting a professional deal.
So going back to Wales, how did that come about? The call up. How did you even have any sort of clue that was happening?
So I was 16, and Paul Bowden obviously played for Wales himself, and he was good friends with the manager of the team at the time, and he sort of said to me, "Look, we're going to try and get you in for the Victory Shield. I'm going to recommend you, and he'll come and watch you." We played Swansea away. I fractured my ankle in the first 5 minutes, so that wasn't great. And I thought, well, that's out the window. But Paul said, "Don't worry, like, we'll still get you in. He'll come and watch you again, and then we'll get you in." And that was literally it. It was down to him, really, using his contacts. And I went in, and the first game I played, to this day, is probably one of the best games I've had in my life.
Who
I don't know what it
against?
was. We played, it was a friendly, and they set it up because we had quite a few new players playing for the first time.
Yeah.
And we played a Welsh colleges team.
Okay.
You know, like England colleges.
Right.
You know, I think Brandon played for them, didn't he?
Yeah.
It was something like that. So, yeah, it was Welsh colleges, and it was just a friendly game in near Swansea, and but I just had a really good game, and then I just went on from there.
Spot on. Like that. So that was your first game. How many games did you end up playing for Wales? And so it was the under. It would have been 19s and 21s, maybe, was it, or what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the played that friendly for the under 18s, and the next one's the under 19s. I only played once for the under 21s in 2013 against Iceland, but for the under 19s, it's probably over 10, I'd say.
Right.
Played Bulgaria twice, played Slovenia twice. Who else did we played? Germany, played Russia, played Sweden.
Oh wow!
Can't think now, but some good teams.
So that's for you, I imagine, and for your parents, that's a proud moment for wearing a Wales shirt. Anyway, I can only imagine what it'd be like, you know, as an Englishman to wear an England shirt. So was that a proud moment?
Yeah, that was probably the best thing I've done in football, I'd say. All my family are from Swansea, so I've always said since I was younger, I see myself as being Welsh, even though I was born in Swindon. So yeah, I'd say that was probably up there with the best sort of achievement, if you like.
Yeah, that's spot on. No, well done for that. But so going back to Swindon, what happened next? What happens next after the 2-year scholarship? What happened to you then?
So this is where it went wrong. This is where it didn't go to plan. I was still in the youth team, and I got called up to the first team. So I started training with them from the October, and then I played a game for the youth team, and I injured my foot, and I thought nothing of it. And by this time it was February, and I'd been running on it for maybe a month.
Yeah.
And then the manager, Canio, left, and then I said to the physio, look, I need to get a scan. So I got it scanned, and I'd been running on a fractured foot basically, and that was the start of like my foot problem. So I went away. Obviously, by this time, it was the end of the season, so I went away, went on holiday. They offered me a pro.
Yeah.
So I was buzzing to come back. And then I come back, and 3 days into pre-season, it went again. The bone hadn't healed properly, and it just cracked again. And then physio sent me for another scan and said, yeah, basically you're going to have an operation. You'll probably be back playing like reserve team football December, Christmas time.
Wow.
So I spent from pre-season to Christmas, which was half of my 1-year deal. I spent that injured. And then I come back, and Mark, as you mentioned earlier, gave someone a call and just said, do you want to come to Chippenham for a month? So I did that. Enjoyed it. It was men's football, and then I ended up staying to the end of the season, and then went back in the summer, and they just released me. So 11 years later, and I was gone.
So that's crazy, and it's crazy to think like that. And I know obviously I was in the academy for long, and I never signed the pro contract. So you were there when Canio was there then? Was he? Did you play under him, or were you training under him?
Yeah. So I never actually made my debut for Swindon, but I was on the bench 8 or 9 times in League One, FA Cup. But yeah, he called me up for a game on a Friday. I can't remember, a Friday or a Monday for a Tuesday. And I remember travelling up, and we played Crewe away, and I was on the bench, and then I just stayed with him then until he left. I think it was end of February.
What was he like as a manager? I can imagine what he was like, but because you see things there. But what was he like as a manager?
Yeah, he's like, people used to say, is it just an act? Like the way he was.
Yeah. Like
punching the dugouts and shouting, but honestly, some of the stories I could say on him, he's literally like that all the time. Like all the time, he's just 24/7 football, and he is a nutter. But he's really good with me, and coaching wise, like one of the best.
Yeah, that's all you can ask for then. Obviously, he's football, and he was a hell of a player as well. So sometimes, when you're a good, very, very good footballer, it does help to gain the respect of the players, and that's probably what he got, I assume.
Well, yeah, it was his way or nothing. So if you didn't like it, you was out, or you was training with the youth team. I just went in there, kept my head down, trained hard, listened to what he said. I was sort of like just agreeing with anything he said, because if you didn't agree with him, it would be, all right, I don't need you, I'll get someone else in. The amount of players that come through the door signing 2-year contracts on big money, and then 2 months later they're gone and you never see them again. They're like, it must be double figures. It was ridiculous.
Well, that's the way he is then, I guess. So obviously I know what it was like getting released from the academy. What did it feel like for you? Because it necessarily wasn't the end of your career. For me, it felt like that's it. But for you, you've been released as a pro?
Probably exactly the same feelings as you, because you was there from 9, I was there from 9. I'd only done 3 years, 4 years longer than you. So however you felt, I felt, because all I knew was Swindon.
Yeah.
I'd never been anywhere else. Obviously, I played local before Swindon, but it was just Swindon all the way through. So it was kind of like, oh, I'm released, and then I was thinking, what do I do now?
Yeah, exactly that.
What happens? What's the process now? Do I ring someone up? Do I wait? Does someone come to me? And I had an agent at the time, and he was saying, look, we'll get you something set up. So yeah, I was released, I think it was the summer of 2014, 6 years ago. So yeah, I think it was summer of 2014, and then I didn't know what to do. I just like come back from my injury or whatever. I wasn't fully fit. I think it hindered me, to be honest. But then I went to Colchester for 6 weeks. Didn't get offered anything there.
Yeah.
Went up to Hull. Like, I went to loads of places for about 6 months, just trying different places.
Okay.
But nothing come of it.
So where did you go then? Did you end up going to Sweden after that? Is that when the it happened, or did you just sort of say, I'm only going to play local football, or what happened to you then?
Yeah, so basically from when I got released in the summer, I went to Colchester for 6 weeks. I went up to Hull on 2 separate occasions. I actually nearly got a contract there for their under 23s.
Yeah,
I think they were just got promoted to the Prem, or I can't remember. Maybe they just come down. But I thought, this is good. But they were changing their whole academy.
Yeah,
they were going for like a higher level category, so they couldn't really offer me much, which was a shame. I went on trial. I played a game for Mansfield. I played for Hemel Hempstead a few times. And then it just got to the point where I'd been doing this up until December. And then I was like, well, I'm going to have to work now.
Yeah.
Like, I can't go forever. I still want this, but I need to be realistic. So I started working part-time at my friend's hotel, friend's parents' hotel. And then I was still sort of thinking about what I could do, but then I just went into non-league. And yeah, that was when I thought, I'm going to enjoy myself a bit. I was going out with my friends more, having a few more beers than I probably should have. And I sort of just went from like here to like sliding down the slope.
Yeah.
And I did that until I was, what was that? I was 20 in the October, so 2 year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah.
I got myself an office job. I was working full time in an office.
Yeah.
In the end, I wasn't even playing football because I snapped my ankle ligaments. I think I pulled my hamstring. I think I had a problem with my other foot. So everything was just like telling me, right, just have a break and enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
So that's what I did for 2 years. And then I went to Sweden when I'd just turned 22 then.
Oh, wow. And then did you play football out in Sweden?
Yeah, so I signed for a Division 3 club, which is the 5th tier at the time.
Right.
But I spoke to the manager, who was English, and he was like, look, we train full time every day. It was only a small place in the middle of Sweden, but he said, we'll get you fit. We'll try and give you a chance to like push on. So I went there, and yeah, first year we had all English lads there. I think there was about 15 English lads in this Swedish team. and we went unbeaten and won the league. So yeah, we didn't lose a game that year, which was good. And then I did another year after that in 2018, and we was close to getting a playoff spot. I think we missed out by a couple of points. And yeah, that was the end of that really there.
Oh wow! Okay, so then did you head back to England and sort of start working again, or what was it? What was it then?
Yeah, so I was actually speaking to a scout, and he'd watched one of my games like in Sweden, like live streamed it, and we'd been messaging on LinkedIn because I'm on LinkedIn quite a lot. And he was just saying, look, he was a scout for Dundee in the Scottish Premiership, and he was saying, look, I could get you in. And I said, I'm coming home soon. So I went home, and I kid you not, 2 days after I got home, the manager got sacked. And I said, what's going to happen now? I said, I'm ready to come up. Like, just tell me the details. He said, look, manager's been sacked. We don't know who they're going to bring in, and we don't know who he's going to want.
Yeah.
It might be a manager who just brings in all his own players. He might not want to worry about Aaron in Swindon. So that just went dead then. They brought in a new manager. Don't know who it was, but they obviously just went their own way. And then after that, I can't remember what I did. I think I started working, and then a couple of months later, I signed for Farnborough then.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So, I was back to playing non-league and then working full-time, which wasn't ideal because I thought after 2 years in Sweden, I thought I'd done okay.
Yeah.
And I thought I'd maybe get, not necessarily a league club, but maybe something in the National League or Conference South or North, or maybe even another higher league in Sweden. But literally nothing came around. I sort of filtered down and started playing non-league again then.
So obviously you're in Sweden at the minute. What's your sort of aim now with football and coaching? What do you want to do? Because obviously we've still both got a couple of years left before we're technically in our prime. What do you want to do now with coaching and football?
I get asked this a lot because people are like, "Oh, how old are you?" I say 26. Oh, and you're coaching. Why are you not playing? But to be honest, like, I don't think I'll progress any more now. I think I could still play at a half decent level if I got myself 100% match fit. But I get the same sort of buzz from coaching as a player.
Yeah.
And now I'm not playing and I'm doing the coaching. I can see from the other side. I can see from the coach's side. And when we're coaching and we're doing a game or we're doing a training session, that's like my passion.
Yeah.
And it kind of like puts a bandage over the football because I get that little buzz still.
Yeah.
I was speaking to someone earlier and I said, dude, what I miss most is having essentially a group of your best mates in a changing room and just playing like shit jokes on each other and having banter and having a laugh and going into training doing something you love every day.
Yeah.
But that feeling's sort of been replaced now by the coaching. It's not exactly the same. It's not 100% the same, but it's probably 90% the same as playing football.
Yeah, it is, and that's why I coach as well. I love my job and I love what I do. I'm lucky to work with loads of kids that are in academies, 1-to-1. I work obviously down in Southampton, down there.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of your stuff online.
Yeah, obviously I coach a different style, but the good thing about us, I assume, is that we've had the academy upbringing, we've had the good coaching, so we can almost have a good knowledge of drills to do, of how we felt, and if someone that you know or you coach has got the opportunity to come pro or has got the opportunity to come into the academy, you can give good advice I can give reasonably good advice. So I think I wouldn't worry about coaching at 26 and not playing. I absolutely love it. I still play because I think I'd miss it too much if I stopped. And I was speaking to Joe Tessam, who used to play for Southampton and Norway, on my first podcast, and he's 48 and he still plays in the Wessex League, which is, I don't know what step that, but he honestly, he's naturally fit. He's unbelievable still. He sits in centre mid and he can ping balls left and right. He's very, very good.
I don't think I'll be playing until I'm 48. I think my knees and my back will be gone.
It is. You can write it. You can write how good he is still at 48. But I guess if, he's a pro or he was a pro at Southampton, and I coached down with him. I spoke to Radi Jaidi, who used to play for Southampton, won the African Cup of Nations. Another centre back, big bloke, and I work with his son 1-to-1, and so it's good to get knowledge. It's good because when we're speaking and when I learn stuff from you now, even talking to you, I learn stuff, and that's what I want to do, especially with these podcasts, because people are having a pretty rough time at the minute. I mean, for example, my mum's going through chemo. She got diagnosed with cancer over Christmas, and my nan's in hospital with COVID. People are going through rough times, so I want to do this to help people.
That's really good.
So, I really appreciate it. You've had a pretty incredible career in football. It's mental until you actually speak to someone and get their point of view like you, because it's not always negative stories, but it's not always when you sign a pro deal, that's it, you're done, is it? Let's be honest.
No. A lot of people think you're gonna go on and do wonderful things, but there's so many ups and downs, and I sort of feel not bad, but when I say, if someone asks me what did you do, and I say, well, I used to play football. Technically, I didn't play football because I wasn't there long enough. I wasn't in the game long enough. But I can say that I've worked under some top class managers. I've played with some unreal players who've gone on to do big things. I played against good players. I've played international football. So that's what I want to do now with the coaching. Those little bits, although it was short lived, and technically I wouldn't say I'm retired. I might change my mind next year and try and play, but until I was 20, 22, 23, it was short-lived. That's really young, and that's when I kind of stopped after that. But if I can pass on maybe one bit of information to someone, that's going to help them, and that's what I'm doing now. I'm trying to get the next ones off the production line to get a contract with the first team.
So, last question, because I don't want to keep you too long. What is the one bit of advice you've got for kids that, might want to get into an academy, or already in an academy, or purely just want to be the best player they can be? What's your advice for that?
I'd say, I always say this to people, and it's a bit cliche, but don't take it for granted and enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can talk about, you need to do this, you need to eat the right food, you need to be committed, but I think if you want to be a footballer, you know what it takes. You should know what it takes. Yeah, you get a bit of guidance from people, but you know not to go and smoke 20 cigarettes a day. You know not to go out every weekend or before training. I think that's a given.
Yeah.
But I thought maybe especially when I was 16 to 18, I could go and do something here. I could go and play for Swindon, and then I could do well, and I could go. But now I look back, I probably took it for granted a bit.
Yeah, you probably aren't the only person who does that, though. Let's be honest. When you're in the academy and sort of in that sort of bubble, it is a bubble, isn't it? And you're very unaware of what goes on outside.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I say to our players now. We said it at the beginning of last year, and the year flew by like that. We're already onto the second year. So it's just you don't have time to waste. Every training, every game is 100%, because at the end of the day, sometimes it doesn't last as long as you think. So enjoy it while you can. That's what I'd say.
No, that's probably a good place to end the podcast. So I'm gonna thanks for all your time. Thanks for everything. Thanks for all the advice.
No worries.
Thanks